Hey everybody, welcome to TV Chef Fantasy League, the podcast where every week is Cake Week. I'm your host and commissioner, Mike Cablon. With me are my co-hosts. I tried to blast through it because it was such a dumb joke. I wrote that joke 30 seconds ago.
It was great.
I actually really liked it.
I loved it. I chuckled internally.
But the form of it is I could just do that every week. Do you know what I mean?
Technically, yeah.
Yeah, why not?
The podcast for every week is
Biscuits
Week. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
that's
I'm ashamed of myself. Anyway, Sierra Kato Nifiwadi way. Sierra, freshly back from your wedding and honeymoon back to back.
You bet.
How was it? How you feeling?
Good to be, in the clear with the planning, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a wonderful time, And I do recommend the honeymoon right after. If you can do a honeymoon, that's pretty relaxing. I was telling you guys off air. I think because I think, if you're going to somewhere where you're like constantly, much more planning to be done, much more itinerary to hit.
Yeah.
We just did Hawaii and we were relaxed
Nice.
and, what a beautiful place to be allowed to be.
Most importantly and relevant to this podcast, what was the best thing you ate?
Oh, you bet. Actually, so much good stuff. I think I ate like all the mercury I will need for the rest of my life.
You're at max mercury.
Yeah, max, like up to the eyeballs and that shiny metal. Yeah, I think some really good sashimi and
Nice.
sushi at like a Japanese restaurant, and some great mahi.
Ooh, love to hear it.
So more of that big fish. Get me more more of that liquid metal, baby.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, we're glad to have you back. Folks, if you're just joining us, because this is the first proper week for Great British Bake Off, we just wrapped up MasterChef, so if you missed that, you can go back and listen to it now. If you did listen to MasterChef Generations with us, we have an interview with Kamei that we did last week, and it was so much fun. I had a blast talking with her.
Yeah. It was
So cool.
Yeah, it really was a very fun moment, and getting to kind of field our questions of things we've had the whole season was a treat.
Yeah, getting
Totally.
firsthand insight is always clutch.
Yeah, and I loved seeing who she was as a person that you're talking to versus like the edit
The
Kamei
TV
on
personality.
TV, which was and her perspective on that, which was cool, and it definitely shed light as we were going through like all the details of what did you think of this? And I think we wanted more drama.
But she is very gracious and that's what I'm looking for. Magnanimous, impartial.
Yeah.
Did you see that we made it into her highlight
Oh,
reel?
yes.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Wow.
What
an
Look at
honor.
us. We're part of the story.
Anyway, you can listen to a short clip from that interview on your feed now for free, but if you head to MaximumFun.org/join, you can become a member for as little as $5 a month and get instant access to the full interview there, and hopefully some other interviews that we've got lined up coming down the pipe. I want to shout out Max and his fiance who did a MasterChef League. I didn't even think of this. While we were doing this podcast, we mentioned that Warren is now on Cameo, and Max and his fiance decided that the prize for their league would be a cameo from Warren. So he sent me the cameo that Warren made for their league, and it's the sweetest. Warren is the best.
Yes.
Crusher, yes.
So much fun. So thank you for sending that to us. If you're going to play along with us for Great British Bake Off, please keep tagging us. Show us what you're doing and how you're doing in your league. We like reading the stupid team names and the stakes, the drama, the prizes. It's a lot of fun for us.
Yes.
Okay, let's talk about Great British Bake Off. The first thing I'll say, I think our producer Val will agree with me, I didn't realize until I had to take notes on it how fucking fast the show is.
Yeah.
The edits are like back to back to back. It was a lot of pausing on my end.
Yeah. And when you think about how long this show is, that just lets you know how much show there is.
Yeah, it's a lot to get through.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're packing a lot in. I feel like, I kind of even was, I looked down for 1 minute and I was like, oh, shoot, I kind of missed 5 different takes from different people. I need to go back. So, yeah, for sure. And I even had the heads up from you because I watched it more recently and you had said, oh, yeah, fast edits, guys.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
But still relaxing. Not stressful fast. It's not like watching like a Safdie Brothers movie. You know what I mean?
Well, that's what I was talking to Val about off air, is how even with all the cutting and trimming the fat, the show that they build is so different than both of the shows that we are coming from, where it is more about, I feel like, the lifestyle of cooking more than like the competition aspect.
Yeah. Okay, reactions to meeting the Bakers. We don't have to go through all of them, but I took some random notes. I want to point out I misspelled Illeen's name in the draft, so if you watch the YouTube video, her name on the board is misspelled. My apologies. We mispronounced Jill because it was spelled with a G.
Yeah.
We kept saying Gil, and then during the show, they're like, Jill. I was like, oh.
Yeah, that
Sure,
was wild.
that makes sense.
Oops.
I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Love the accents.
Oh,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
always.
So good.
This is something for me every season. I fall in love with like a good, either like a thick accent or like a complicated accent when it's like place A by way of place B. You know what I mean?
And, something I noticed watching this one, and this will let you know how long it's been since I watched Bake Off, was I was like, oh, where's that, like, one, like, really flamboyant guy? Because I always thought that was, Paul Hollywood, because that looks like
his name is Paul Hollywood.
Yeah. And then we did the research and found that he wasn't the easiest to work with, and there was even a petition to get him to leave, but he left of his own.
Wait, are you talking about the other host?
Yeah,
Matt Lucas.
Matt Lucas, yeah.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know he was quote unquote difficult to work with.
Yeah.
What's the drama there?
It seems like he just was. How it seemed, just it was not a good time working with him.
Yeah.
And he was he left on his own, but I think it was suggested a bit.
Yeah.
But I like the energy of this newer host. Who's
Allison
new to me.
Hammond is the.
Oh yeah.
So you didn't watch last season was her first season. You didn't
Okay,
watch
I
it.
didn't watch it. No.
She is a joy. She is you can tell she's so excited to have the job. B, it seems like she is genuinely friends with Noel.
Okay.
Like they fuck with each other in a way where I'm like they're just having fun.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, I guess I've been fooled before by TV friendships, but no, I genuinely was like, oh my god, they seem like they're friends, and like, oh, what's the story here? And then I saw that she was more recent, and then also I think the last time I would watch it was like Mary Berry, and I was like, oh Mary, what happened to Mary Berry? Did she pass away?
No.
But yeah, she just left, I guess, when BBC was gone.
Right,
Loyalty
exactly.
to BBC or whatever.
Same with
But
Mel
anyway,
and
yeah.
Sue. The original
presenters. Presenters, yes.
Yeah, no. So we've gone through a lot of presenters, but I'm so happy with Noel and Allison. Speaking of accents, Allison is one of my favorite accents because she is real this batch of bikers. You know what I mean? It's a real it's in there. It's thick.
What did they keep saying? Southampton or?
Oh yeah. Jeff tried to mimic it, but I can't remember what region.
Yeah, I'm really bad at UK geography.
Yeah.
Sorry, but yeah. And then did you guys like the Barbie intro?
Oh yeah.
It feels dated.
It's not. It's definitely dated for sure.
Yeah,
they
shot
Barbie.
that.
Yeah,
I
that's
remember.
fun.
I remember when we were talking about that.
Yeah.
It's not the worst sketch they've ever done. They've done a lot of bad sketches.
Okay.
I won't even dignify it by calling it a sketch. It's a skit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They've done some bad skits. It was not the worst one. It was fun to try and hear all of them do an American accent.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I was like, that was their intro. So I was like, oh.
That's always. I'm sure that's what we sound like when we try and do British. But it's like it's funny to hear a person not from America do an American accent because they always try and do California and cowboy together. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's this weird amalgam of just Americana, and it makes no sense.
Yeah.
So much fun. Here's my question. Do you think Paul Hollywood enjoys doing the skits? Because I don't think he had fun dressing up as Ken at all.
Right. Yeah, probably not. I'm assuming he seems like more of the taking himself seriously type.
Yeah.
But I also don't know if that's his character. You know what I mean? If he's doing the Gordon Ramsay thing of just I have to be stern. You know.
I'm it's more fun if I look like I'm not having fun.
Right.
Interesting. I could see that.
And aside from sternness, is Paul Hollywood known to have a bit of a horny energy about him?
Tremendously.
Okay,
Sure.
Cool. Because there was a moment which, when we get to it, I was like, I think we're thinking the same thing about how this cake looks.
There's
a cum cake. There's a cum cake.
There's for sure a cum cake.
Yeah, there's a cake that looks like it's covered in cum.
Oh, sure.
And Paul
That's
Hollywood makes a real suggestive,
They're big on cheeky, suggestive humor on this show.
There's a Fanny mention.
Yeah. I think this is why Soggy Bottom became such a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think the juxtaposition of having these kind of, buttoned up
Proper
elder,
British,
British lady, and then them joking around. I think it fits.
Yeah. What I was gonna say is I feel like every season there's one, usually younger woman that Paul Hollywood always kind of like he's kind of going easy on her, and you're like, I know why.
It's going a little sweet.
I know
my
what's
gosh.
happening here, Paul.
I mean, Dylan did say his grandma has, I'm sure many grandmas abound have a big crush on Paul Hollywood. Just, you know.
Well, he's got those dazzlingly blue eyes.
The eyes and there's definitely like, a younger Paul Hollywood would definitely be a movie star, you know. And his last name's Hollywood, which we discussed is actually his last name.
His real last name.
His parents' last name is Hollywood.
Even now, yes, younger Paul Hollywood, but even now I'm like, I understand being attracted to that type.
Sure, yeah.
He's like confidently silver-haired. Do you know what I mean? He owns like having like a thicker body type. You know what I mean? It's just there's comfort in the confidence.
Yeah, and I think that is something that goes over way too many people's heads. Where sometimes it's just the confidence. Everybody thinks like, I need to look like Channing Tatum. No,
own it.
No, if you own it and you're confident in your own skin, it's very attractive.
Yeah,
it goes a long way.
Yeah, confidence goes a long way. Let this be a lesson to you. You're out there and you're like, I gotta get fit so I can impress this girl and ask her to prom. Confidence. It's like 90% of the game.
Yeah. Learn to have a Dom voice.
Whoa.
Wait, okay. That's parallel to what we're saying.
Yeah. They're gonna stop watching our YouTube video. How to have a Dom voice.
Yeah, how to have a Dom voice. Yeah.
Okay, demonstrate Dom voice for us.
Dom voice is like.
Oh no.
Bring me that cake.
Ooh,
whoa, a command.
Yeah.
That's good.
I am wet. I am sliding out of this.
Oh no, our poor listeners.
I know. I'm so sorry to everyone.
Once again, that person who's playing it for his whole class.
It's a substitute teacher who's just like, I don't know trigonometry. Listen to this podcast.
Right. I like rolling in the TV and just playing our YouTube stream.
That would rock.
Yeah, school rocks.
Like home ec.
Yeah. It's a home ec class. That makes sense.
Yeah.
This would actually make sense.
I mean, I think my teachers have done worse.
Did you have home ec? I never had home. That was a thing that was like in sitcoms.
Yeah.
But I never had it growing up.
It might be a different generation.
Yeah. I was so stoked to have home ec because I was like, oh, hell yeah, just cooking and just
sewing and shit.
Yeah, I was ready. I do think that is, out of all the classes that they've swapped around in like the U.S. curriculum, I think that is one they should have kept because
for sure.
Practical.
The practical skills that many people don't have.
Sorely lacking.
Yeah. Wood shop.
Yes, I would love
I'd like to learn.
I feel pretty confident I could if I just had the tools, and what I don't feel confident in is going to Home Depot and being like, I'd like to rent a jigsaw. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, I know what pieces of wood I need. I don't know how to make that.
Yeah.
And I don't want the teenager at Home Depot to make fun of me. So I'm just like, I'd rather not.
I wanted to, I forget what I needed it cut for. I just wanted to add like a slab of wood on my like roller desk. And it was a thing where I was like, I feel like if I wanted to, I could get this to work. And I was kind of trying to look at it to see. And it definitely was like, no, you got to wait for an employee. And I was like, well, let me see if I could get this. And I couldn't figure out how to do it. And I was like, well, all right, well, they won here.
Yeah. I did have one time, we're getting so far off track. One time, I don't remember what it was. I had a similar thing where it was like, I just want to add one tiny piece of wood here.
Yes.
And I remember going to Home Depot and asking one of the employees, I was like, can I just get a piece of wood that's like this big and like this thick and like this shape? And he's like, take that thing over there. There's a saw right there. Just chop it off. And I was like, great. How do I pay for it? And he's like, just walk out. Like, he was annoyed with me that I wasn't smart enough to just steal 6 inches of wood. He was like, it's this much. We're not going to charge you for that. Just
my God.
Cut it off and go.
I didn't know that.
Shout out to
happening.
Comrade working at Home
Depot. I don't think that was just that guy.
Okay, so it is Cake Week this week on the Great British Baking Show. The signature challenge is to do an elevated loaf cake. Is there anyone you guys want to talk about first? My plan is just to go through all the contestants, and this is also how we meet them.
Yeah, there's so many loaf cakes too.
Yeah.
Man.
Okay, let's start with Eileen, who has 2 adorable kids. She herself is one of 8 kids. Big family here. Her sister bullied her into applying on the show. And she made a cinnamon roll loaf cake, stuck to the pan a bit. There was a little bit of drama there.
Yeah.
But then it released. She said it was like a smoother delivery than anything she's done as a midwife.
Oh, that's great.
Good line.
Yeah.
And then this is, I should have saved this for last, but Paul tastes it. He's very quiet. And then he says it's just lovely and offers her a handshake. The first challenge of the season, and we've already got our first handshake. Eileen, out of the gate with 2 points immediately. Ooh. How are you feeling about she was your first round pick, right?
Yeah. And, that was both to keep, tradition, but also I was excited about Aline. I think that she seems very versatile, and it's proven that right here, because they really built the suspense for the stickiness of it, and then it just plops out pretty perfectly.
Yeah.
So I was really, really happy with the performance, and really looking forward, just to what else we're gonna see later, in this episode.
With her?
Totally.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, I feel like it came into play the first two picks, right? Because Sumaya also had really good a good loaf cake, good episode. So yeah, I was kind of like, oh, these two, this was probably where the snake draft didn't help me too much because I was still the last pick. But no, but yeah, I really thought at least Aline's loaf cake shape was the coolest. Which was probably part of the pan suspense.
To me, the best, like that's the one I wanted. I'm not big on loaf cakes in general, and I think a lot of these fell into the category of like lemon or like vanilla chocolate, and I'm like, sure.
Yeah.
But when you just basically take cinnamon rolls and put it in a loaf pan, I'm in. Sold.
Amazing.
Yeah. Okay, John next. My assessment during the draft was that John strikes me as like, if he were in America, he'd be a Fire Island gay.
Right.
Yeah.
And then immediately he's like, I love margaritas. Like, that was his opening package. I was like, nailed it.
You knocked it right out the park.
No, he was adorable. Everyone made jokes about how his eyes are even bluer than Paul Hollywood's, which they are.
Yeah.
John, stunning eyes.
Yeah, pretty wild eyes. Like, I feel like the pupils are like standing out more or something.
Yeah, they're a little more I don't know, like on
Piercing?
drugs. Yeah.
Yeah.
A little more sparkle,
Yeah.
Sure.
A little more shine. He made a cherry and chocolate marble loaf cake. Everyone said it was great. I feel like this is going to be the whole season. I have to figure out how to host this version of this show. Most of the judging, they're like, it's great.
Right. They're not being too. Yeah, I mean, I know he had a little trouble with the macarons.
Yes.
In the beginning, but it seemed to have worked out. So.
Yeah, it was cold in the tent.
Yeah.
Things were setting
cold.
without even going to the fridge.
Yeah.
It was John and someone else both like worried about
Georgie
their
had a macaron thing going on, but I know, I mean, the cold thing I never really registered. Hey, it gets pretty cold there, and they're in just this tent, and like baking temperature is so important, so it is kind of like wild that they have to figure that out.
And I
on
feel
top
like
of everything.
a better host would have done more research. I feel like most of the time they film during a time of year when it's like super hot, and that's always a bigger concern is that like things are melting.
Bad.
It's only been a handful of times that are like it's way too cold in here.
Yeah.
And this time it was like they were wearing jackets. It was like cold.
Yeah. I kind of felt. I feel like they were like trying to warm up Hazel.
Yeah.
So sweet.
Poor frail. Okay, let's talk about Hazel. Frail little Hazel. Yes. A bingo fanatic.
Yep.
They put a warmer inside of her apron. Adorable.
That's good. Yes. Resourceful.
No, I thought she was great. We'll get to her cakes later, but for this, she just did the raspberry surprise loaf cake. Said it was a bit dry and slightly overbaked.
Yeah.
Which is...
And she had those shards.
She had the shards, the big, gigantic raspberry shards.
Sure. A bit large, a bit sharp.
Yeah, she just wanted you to get enough raspberry.
Yeah.
That's just a loving grandma move.
Yeah. She's
a little
like...
bit more.
Yeah.
My
exactly.
kids love it when they have huge chunks.
And those kids, they're not discerning about whether or not a cake is dry.
Yeah.
It's cake.
Yeah. They're just happy to be there.
Yeah, exactly.
And she said she had 10 grandchildren.
Yeah. Pretty big fam.
She's already accomplished so much.
Yeah.
Right.
Being a baker, having 10 grandchildren, being able to bake the cakes. I don't know what I was trying to say. You know what I mean?
She has a lot of designer bags we learned later.
Yes, exactly. Yeah,
she
that's
accumulated quite the collection.
That's her collection. Yeah. Hazel's doing great. If she were eliminated today, it would be like she'd still
right. It's kind of the MasterChef generations problem for the baby boomers, where it's like they could they've done enough. They're doing all right.
Yeah, this is the cherry on top for them.
Oh yeah.
I want to talk about Andy just because we have to. They didn't really talk that much about him. They were just like, he's a mechanic, he's a family man. That's kind of it. Did you get anything else out of his package?
He had his whole thing where he was like, I might have to take the wheels off of his car.
Oh, that's right.
like,
okay, I forgot about that.
You're a car mechanic.
Yeah. He does car things.
Yeah,
so
we got it.
I got to tune this cake up.
That was a pretty good version of his. I felt like his accent was like, who are the bullies from Harry Potter?
Oh, yeah.
It's thick.
Crab and Goyle?
Yeah, Crab and Goyle.
Okay, yeah, fair.
Yeah. yeah, that's kind of he did the My First Bake loaf cake, which is like lemon, and people were like, it's lemony. That's it. That's all we got. Mike also did lemon stuff. Took everything from his farm. Mike was the farmer, the youngest, best farmer or whatever.
Yeah. And running the farm with
Youngest
his partner
best.
too.
Yes, and their dog named Todd.
Yeah.
Love that detail because I love just a dumb human name on a dog.
Oh my God, our full human name.
It's a Whippet too.
A Whippet.
Yeah, that was
very,
great.
very British dog.
Oh, interesting.
I'm real late on it, but I don't want it to stay in my head. But when you asked for the Harry Potter bullies, I meant to say J.K. Rowling.
We'll cut it back in.
Yeah,
That's good. Yeah, much clearer.
Fuck turfs. I hope that the mold slowly extinguishes the flame that's in her eyes. Will you have to cut that out?
Wait, no, that's an amazing burn.
Yeah.
I hope the mold extinguishes the flames in her eyes.
Yeah. She just eventually just stares glassy-eyed into Zoom, unable to form sentences.
Did you read that from like a book from the 4th century? That's incredible.
No, that was fueled by 100% Nigerian hate.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I want that tattooed on me forever. That is so good.
Yeah, that feels right. That feels like the right death.
That's going to be on our T-shirt. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Once again, another podcast on Max Film that I'm probably going to, on Max Fun, that's going to be review bombed by weird racists because I can't stop making fun of them.
It's fine. We don't look if you're a racist or if you're a TERF. We don't need you listening.
Yeah. Wait, honestly, a bad review is a good review.
Yeah. Who gives a shit? Get
That's
out of here.
the real soggy bottom.
All right. Mike did a lemon and Lindsay loaf. It feels so stupid to come back to this now.
Oh my
God. I don't
God.
care.
It's good. No, I also just on Mike. I'm like I love Mike.
Yeah.
He just is like a real seems like great guy.
He's a little more chaotic than I would have thought. He's the one who had like messy bench.
Yeah.
He like dropped equipment.
And he was like, oh, I'll get to that later or something.
Yeah. In this challenge, it's the one where he had the crack in the side of his cake.
Oh, sure.
And they said the frosting on top looked like scrambled egg. I'm like, he's a little messier than I would have thought.
Oh, yeah.
I see.
That's a farm boy, baby.
I guess so, yeah.
Farmers get it done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it feels like the opposite of like an engineer. You know what I mean? They're just like, I don't know, a little to the left. Who gives a shit? Although Georgie was the one who said she didn't measure anything, right?
Oh,
again, it edits so fast. Yeah. But I think Georgie was where she was like, yeah, I don't do it. She just like dumped like, I remember she had a bowl of like powdered sugar or flour or something. She went like this. And like this, and then just dump the whole bowl. That classic, just like, whatever, just dump the whole thing. She forgot her, I wrote it down, the sunflower oil, and then had to put it back in. The chaos bakers. I'm like, on American TV, what they say about pastry chefs and bakers is like, you got to be precise.
Yeah.
So when they're like, I'm just eyeballing it, I'm like, whoa, what are you doing?
Yeah, that seems
that is a cooking food behavior, not baking.
Yeah.
Baking, you got to turn into Walter White. you
gotta murder a few people.
Sure. Make sure it's crystal clear.
Yeah.
I did write down that Georgie's accent sounds pretty British, but then when she gets stressed out, it turns more Italian. I don't know if you guys noticed that. When she was like, I'm running an hour behind, it was like, I'm running an hour behind. It was a little more.
That's good. That feels
sounded
great.
more and more like her nonna, you know?
Yeah.
All right, Sumaya. 18 years old at time of filming. We had her listed at 19, but I guess that was like now.
Yeah.
Right.
Because in her intro package, they're like, Sumaya is only 18. And I was like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Not at home. That's crazy to me.
Yeah. Preparing for your dental school.
Yeah. She has a pet duck, and we'll learn more about that duck later. And she made a halva surprise loaf cake, and everyone loved it. It looked good.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I love halva. It was like a carrot halva inside of a cake.
Yeah.
I'm in. I'm sold.
Yeah.
If you can put a core through a cake and put like a different filling in there,
Yeah.
A+. All right, Jeff, the American. I wrote that he talks like Christopher Walken. Does that resonate with you guys?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Which has nothing to do with accent. It's like pacing, it's cadence.
Yeah.
Still plays basketball. They just showed him out there hustling, moving. Hooping. Here's a question I wrote down. Did he listen to his cake? Did you guys catch that? He pulled his loaf cake out of the oven, and then he put his face to it like this. And I know this is an audio medium. I'm holding an imaginary cake to my ear, and I was like, is he listening to his cake? Because either that's crazy or he's such a good baker that he knows what it's supposed to, like,
Yeah, the sizzle.
bubble. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. That one really threw me.
Yeah. Maybe.
I want to believe it's the latter, but I don't know.
So yeah, now I gotta listen to this cake. It's gonna tell me what I need to do.
This cake did turn out terrible.
Oh, no.
He made the guiding star cake with the star-shaped middle. It was a lemon and almond loaf cake. Paul and Prue said it looked like a lava flow, like it's been lava flowing through the city that picked up a bunch of shit.
That was so. It was funny because then they cut to him and he's like, yeah, sorry for the audio listeners, just sort of like a not really like laughing with it face, just sort of like a stunned.
Yeah.
What is he talking about? I don't know. Is this good or bad?
I thought this was really good.
Yeah. It was a good stunned look.
Yeah, and he made it in tribute to his wife, which I thought was lovely. He's a wife guy. We love a wife guy.
Yeah, we love a wife guy.
We love a wife guy until they cheat on their wife, which seems to happen sometimes.
Yeah.
Okay, this seems like it's coming from a particular example. Who are you thinking of?
Well, I don't really know. Wait, let's see. I feel like there are a couple.
Ned Fulmer from BuzzFeed.
Right. The Try
What?
Guys. The Try Guys.
Yeah, the Try Guys.
The Try Guys.
Fulmer, he was
the
big,
wife guy.
It was so much so that his bit was that he was always talking about his wife, and then he cheated on his
and
wife.
it feels like, and there was one other one. I'll think about it.
Wow, I didn't realize there's a notable wife guy who notably cheated on his
Yeah.
wife.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's the recent memory.
I'm really not plugged into the internet.
Yeah,
I gotta
It's
get on
honestly, I
BuzzFeed.
didn't really.
You're
I
not tapped in on the Try Guy.
No, honestly, I wasn't. I think a lot of people became understood or learned about the Try Guys. Oh yes,
Through that.
yes. Val, good job. It was totally
Oh,
Mulaney, John Mulaney.
John Mulaney,
Yeah.
Notorious wife guy.
But he turned tables.
And
now he's
second
in T-shirts. Yeah, with Olivia Munn in the hospital
So,
post-birth question mark.
Yeah.
But yeah, so hopefully that's not the fate of Jeff.
I can't imagine this genteel New Yorker who moved to the UK in the 70s is going to suddenly cheat on his British
I don't
wife.
know, all the Bacon Show fame
That's
gets to
true.
his head.
Yeah, who's sliding into Jeff's DMs?
Yeah.
Like, you can bake me a cake, Daddy.
Yeah.
Yikes.
With that little Christopher Walken accent. All right, Nelly from Slovakia moved to the UK 19 years ago. Still makes self-deprecating jokes about being from another country. Gotta appreciate that sort of like immigrant tenacity.
Sure. Stays with you, I suppose.
Yeah. I think any immigrant who's like getting ahead of the jokes is just like, you can't make fun of me.
Yeah.
I'll make fun of me.
Yeah.
I'm like, game recognized game. You know what I mean? I've done that. I wrote, she reminds me of Sylvia from Top Chef World All Stars. Does that resonate with you? Sylvia, the potato girl.
Oh,
who
I don't
loved
know.
her potatoes.
I didn't.
She's on Top Chef World All Stars. She was the one who won Top Chef Poland.
Yeah.
And they just had the same energy.
Ooh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Good stuff.
She said her husband doesn't like her baking.
Yeah, that was great.
It was like the
She's
first
like, "I don't
line
care,
in the
though."
show.
Yeah.
She was like, this show is like the first show I saw when I moved to Great Britain, and my husband does not like my baking.
Damn.
She made a coconut loaf cake. They said it was straight from the 1970s. Very soft, basically pudding, delicious. They said they could eat the whole thing. Not the most attractive, but tastes good.
Look,
It's pretty good.
don't have to look good. Just
Just
gotta
not
taste
taste
good.
Yeah.
Shovel it in.
Dylan. Okay. Here's a small point of contention. He did this bit where he was pounding coconut on the ground.
Yeah.
The rule as written is you lose a half point if something gets dropped / touches the floor. His coconut did touch the floor. I'm inclined to say he does not lose any points. A, because it's episode 1. B, it's not in the spirit of the rule. He didn't drop it. He was like doing a funny thing where he's like, I'm going to bang a coconut on the ground.
Yeah, it was more like it wasn't a drop. It was forcefully kind of like it was intended to go there. I feel like a drop is more like a whoops.
Yeah. Okay. So no loss of points there. They did, in his opening package, show him beefing on a skateboard over and over again.
Yeah, it was so funny.
I was like, why would you do that to this poor kid?
They're like, yeah, he probably forgot how to skate.
He's a bit rusty.
Yeah.
Good thing he's on this show because he fucking sucks at skating.
All I could think about whenever he came on screen was that his weakness is cakes.
Yeah, that's me too. That's all I think nonstop. And then I'm seeing him eat shit on a skateboard over and over.
Come on.
Mind you, clocking him eating shit way earlier because that is my like Southern California loadout is knowing. And I was like, oh, this man is not doing any of this right. And he's in the baggiest pants. I would never not everybody's Kareem Campbell. You know, like like some of us, you need to know where your legs are going.
So he knows cakes are his weakness. He made a mango sticky rice loaf cake. They said the flavor is good, the bake is not.
Yes, because this man forgot the yogurt. Spelled in the weird British way.
Yogurt.
And I'm like, how? How? Like, it seems like cakes aren't your weakness. Remembering the parts of the thing you're making is your weakness.
Take extra notes on the week where they're focusing on your weakness.
Yeah, interesting.
Okay. Sorry, water break. Okay, Christian. I feel like they're really. I feel Christian was my first round pick, and I feel like he's not long for this world because they kept picking on him throughout the whole episode. They're like, his flavors are sour, and I'm like,
yeah.
Could it be that? It's one of those things where I'm like, to me as a viewer at home, I'm like, this doesn't sound that bad, but both the judges are like, we don't like this, and I'm like, how bad could it be? You know?
I was pretty worried about the miso.
Yeah.
Really?
When he was like umami cake, I'm like,
yes, the umami apple loaf cake.
Maybe it's and then an apple, but I think they were like, it's gonna really need that apple, so maybe if he just didn't have enough apple, I could see it maybe being complimentary, but I was very much like, and I think there is maybe more of a modern take where like now you're getting a little more savory stuff. You get some savory ice creams, you get olive oil cake, things like that. That's maybe more in vogue now. But I was a little like, I don't know about miso and a cake.
I feel like every time I've had a sweet dish done savory go well, it's all about the subtlety that still lets some of the sweetness go in.
Yeah,
and it sounds like that. The umami was a little overpowering.
Yeah, you think it was probably an overdose of miso.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because in my head, I'm like miso caramel is a thing. We make that all the time. And caramel and apples go together, so why wouldn't... It's like A equals B, B equals C, you know?
Right. Maybe he needs that caramel in there, though.
Yeah. Anyway, I was disappointed. Also disappointed in it because his bit was they were like, he's from the Netherlands, but he lived in Australia... he lived with a Scottish person, Welsh, South. They dropped all these things, and I was like, well, his accent isn't that crazy. There have been people with crazier accents on this show. Kind of just sounds like a normal guy.
Yeah. It all canceled out.
Yeah. Jill almost dropped her loaf cake. Did not, so no loss of points there. She did run out of time to cool it, so she had to decorate it while it was still hot. It was kind of drippy and weird, but she made her, quote, "It's all V's fault." It's a chocolate orange flavored loaf cake. It was great. Nothing else to say there. And that's it. The only other thing I wrote is that Noel and Allison are so charming messing up their time calls.
Yeah.
It's nice to see them back and just be like, how do we do this job again? I think that's charming.
Yes.
Yeah.
Relatable.
Okay, let's move on to the technical challenge. This is the point in the show where Jeff is out sick for the rest of the show, which, give me your thoughts on this, because I'm worried. He's... old.
Sure. I had already commented. I think I'd already kind of been like, oh, he looks like, I hope he's,
he looks a little gray.
Old, I'm like, and it's cold, and so when I heard that, I was like, oh no, I hope he's okay. Maybe it's, could be COVID, who knows? But
as a side note, this is just popped in my head. Are you guys watching The Golden Bachelorette?
No, I haven't been.
I've heard good things.
Yeah, I have seen some TikToks of Chris L. I want to say, or Charles L.
Oh, Charles L.
L.
The Chinese guy.
Yeah, it was a charming, just the open when he's like checking out the fridge and stuff.
Yes, he's the best.
Stuff,
he's the best.
Yeah.
There's this week. I love the show. It's so good. This week, her one-on-one date was with a guy named Chalk, and they went to Disneyland because it's ABC and they can do that.
Yeah.
And at some point, I turned to Laura and I said, "Chalk looks like." First of all, his name is Chalk. And I said, "Chalk looks like." He got bitten by a zombie, but he hasn't told the group yet. Like he was like
hiding the bite,
sweaty and pale, and just like trying to hold it together. And I was like, get this man off television. He does not want to be here.
Hard. Yeah, I mean, and it's like probably hot and Disneyland, no shade. I don't know.
He looked so uncomfortable. And this is not a dig on like his looks. I'm like, he's a handsome older gentleman,
Yeah.
But he looked like he was not having a good time.
Oh, yeah. So we're thinking maybe Jeff.
I'm hoping that doesn't apply to Jeff.
Yeah.
Anytime someone's sick on the show, I'm like,
get it, hold it together.
Someone hit reset on Iffy.
Hold it together, Jeff.
Hold it together, Jeff. Yeah.
Technical challenge was to make 8 perfectly symmetrical mini Battenburg cakes. And for the first time, they do something called a taste and bake, where they get 2 hours and 15 minutes to bake. But the first 5 minutes, they get to taste a perfect Battenburg, and then they're given no recipe.
Ooh.
How would you guys fare if this was your challenge?
Terribly.
I mean, yeah. It's like the whole thing is when they were trying to make marzipan and they were like, I don't know what the ratio is. I'm like, yeah, I mean, the whole thing is probably the ratio. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, Paul Hollywood did give them a little hint up top where he's like, everything is in equal
That's true.
measure.
That was big. That's right.
But it did seem like everyone fucked up on the marzipan. No one likes making marzipan.
I mean, even it seems like a texture, temperature thing.
It seems like such a hard thing to make.
Yeah, it seems like one of those things, like I'm trying to think of another example, phyllo dough, where you're like, you could make it, or you could just buy it. It's so much easier to just buy it. No one cares that much.
I see, yeah.
Okay, so going in order from worst to first. In last place, we had Mike. They said his were more green than yellow. The marzipan got overworked. They called it terrible. Quote, unquote, marzipan was terrible.
Okay.
Second to last, Hazel. Oh, Hazel. A bit untidy. Not wrapped well. Quote, clumsy. Hazel, during the cook, made her jam too sticky. Had to restart it. And then her marzipan was too runny. She added too much egg. Had to restart it. That's a half point, and I'm going to award it once. Because we said this up top when we first started this show. If there are multiple instances of a thing during one episode, it's still just 1 point getter. So she gets a half point because she had to start something over. During the edit, they kind of implied some other people are having similar problems.
Yeah.
But she's the only one where they explicitly said she is starting over. And so that's just where we're going to draw the line. It probably happened to other people, but she gets the point. The other note I wrote for Hazel is one of the hosts asked, "Are you enjoying yourself?" And she said, "No."
And she wants to be with her 10 grandkids.
Yeah, she's cold. Let her go home.
And they're not particular. They like however she makes it.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, Sumaya, they said hers were too small because she made basically like cubes instead of long cakes, you know. Marzipan was too thick, needs more almond. Andy, messy, clumsy, good flavor. Ilyin, it was too pale, not yellow enough. Flavor was okay. Jill, no color at all, but very neat. Too much marzipan, not enough cake. Nelly, she did say during the bake, she was like, it's like a puzzle, and I like to do puzzles. I was like, all right, Nelly, but then she still came in 5th. I was like, okay, well, I was really rooting for you there.
You don't like them too much.
Yeah.
4th place went to Dylan, nicely shaped, bit too strong in the color. And then in 3rd place, getting a half point, John. Said it was delicious and neat, a bit too yellow. 2nd place with 1 point, Christian. Very nice, bit small, neat, not much almond. And in 1st place, getting 1.5 points, Georgie. Good marzipan, neat, good zing of apricot jam. Georgie did mention she looked at a Battenburg recipe the night before.
I mean, the luck. Yeah,
the
that
luck.
was crazy.
Truly incredible.
Yeah, so I'm glad she pulled it off. I mean, because I guess that's probably what they're doing. They're just looking at a bunch of random recipes for any random thing.
Well, you would hope because we've talked about this on this show. They go home in between the challenges. Yeah. They're not kept on premises. Right. So it's like, I would imagine at least some of them probably are like, I got to go do homework or, take care of my family or whatever.
Yeah. You're probably at quite a disadvantage if you have other shit to do.
Yeah.
But also the funny, Dylan with his extremely yellow marzipan. It was like, he was like, the thing about yellow is you can never have enough of it. And then he added more yellow.
Kept
and
going.
Then he was like, well, that's a lot.
It's too much. You can have enough of it.
But he did well.
Yeah. So Georgie, her studying paid off. Mm-hmm. She takes home 1.5 points for whose team is she on? Me?
Mine.
No, you. Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
That's right. No, yeah, I'm looking at the score sheet now. She's one of your powerhouses this week. We'll get to that.
Good.
They do a little mid-episode recap. The judges say Christian, Mike, and Hazel are all in trouble. Uh-oh. And we move on to the Showstopper round. Just to make a hyper-realistic illusion cake, it's got to be identical to something that is not a cake. Paul says it can't be a passing resemblance. It's got to look exactly like something. Personally, I feel like some of these people hit the mark there, and some people did not.
Yeah.
Okay. Sumaya. This is where we learn more about her pet duck, Pato the duck. She makes Pato out of an orange cake, balsamic strawberries. Duck looked incredible.
Yeah.
The most realistic duck I've ever seen, cake or not. You could make a statue of a duck. I'd be like, that's, yeah.
Yeah, she really knew her duck. And I feel like, it had a kind of look to it where it wasn't even like really a perfect version of duck. It was like, this looks like an animal duck.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense at all.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
No, expand on that.
I feel like there were flaws in it that were positive in the realism of it.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Okay, I see what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but I thought, I mean, this is why I drafted hers, because when you look at her Instagram, it's like she can decorate the shit out of a cake. So I wasn't surprised, but I was like very impressed. Like, wow, she really nailed that duck.
Yeah, you're like, this is what I drafted you for.
Yeah, exactly.
You're showing up.
She really lived up to her potential there. So thank you, Samaya. Jill made a crown green bowling cake. I had to look this up because she made bowling balls on a lawn. And I was like, do they call bocce something different there? I looked it up. More accurately, it's called lawn bowling. It's a variant on bocce, but it is a sport that we don't really play here.
Okay.
Yeah.
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 Because we're still, as a country, trying to figure out our bowling situation. Because, on the East Coast, they got that weird candlestick bowling.
What is candlestick bowling?
Oh, you haven't seen it? It's like a smaller ball, and the pins are like candlesticks.
Yes.
Whoa,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah.
I think it's like primarily in New England that they play it in.
Yeah. That sounds familiar, but I've never actually played it.
Yeah, I saw it. It was in, if you've seen The Holdovers, they featured it in The
sure.
Holdovers.
Yeah. Okay.
Interesting.
As Laura and I are planning our wedding, we're trying to think of all the fun things we'd like to have at our wedding, and we looked into how much it would cost to rent a skee ball machine. It's only $500.
Oh, nice.
I was like, for $500,
Yeah,
I'm gonna rent
That's
a
so
skee ball
fun.
machine just on like a Tuesday night
yeah.
for funsies.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, every weekend.
Yeah, that's a great plan. I was just talking, when I was at a friend's wedding, I was like, yeah, I want my wedding to be like almost a carnival, where it's like,
That's a valid theme.
yeah,
Yeah.
because I feel like most people, once you have the ceremony, then it's like drinks and eats. And I think it's all location, because I feel like if you're at a place, then you're like, well, there's only so much time we can spend here. Do I want to get drunk here?
Right.
But I want it to be like, no, we're having too much fun.
That is one of the. So we're leaning toward destination wedding now, but for a while we were like, if we did it here, what would be the coolest thing? We were thinking about going out into the desert and just getting a bunch of tents, and then you have like one big tent for the dancing, and then like a tent for games and stuff, and a tent for the bar.
A full festival kind of style. Yeah, that's awesome.
We'll see. It could still happen if destination doesn't
A
work
skee
out.
ball tent.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's $500. Okay, Dylan, huge nerd. I did not anticipate nerddom coming from Dylan, but he's an ancient Egypt nerd
Yeah.
Very cool.
and made a canopic jar. Once again, I want to shove him into a locker. I'm like, what?
Look,
I've never heard of a canopic jar in my
Egyptology.
life.
Very cool. What?
hot people is nerds
You
now.
don't know about you didn't I feel like
Hot
this
people.
was
You knew about canopic jars?
Well, I just feel like, when you learn about ancient Egypt, it's all about the mummies, and then the
Sure.
mummies, it's all about scooping the brains out through the nose with the hook.
Yeah.
And then where do you put those brains? In a canopic jar.
I guess I
Yeah, I would have just called it a jar.
a jar. Yeah, I knew they put it in a jar.
Yeah, I
Oh,
wouldn't
okay.
have called it a
Okay.
canopic jar.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
Teach
Nerd
their
alert.
own. Teach
Yeah,
their
yeah,
own.
yeah.
You can put your brain in a jar,
I
in
feel
a bowl
like
jar,
there's a chance that
mason
like
jar.
maybe Dylan it like is this like he's like an A student nerd,
Yeah.
and just like when he was on the coming on the show, he's like, no, I skate.
Yeah. That's why he's bad at it. Yeah.
Right. He's like, come watch me. I'll be at this party.
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
Oh shoot, they actually came.
Like post high school nerd glow up, and
Yep.
so he's trying to like switch his whole brand around.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
It's good.
Anyway, so he because it's inspired by ancient Egypt, he made it with sesame and tahini. It sounded good. The big risk was he did a chiffon cake, which is like a lighter area. They're like, you don't want to stack that. That's not a good building cake. But it worked. They said it was good flavor. And, good canopic jar cake. Nerd. Nelly. Okay, this is the one that kind of bothered me, where I was like, I don't think she got the memo on like how illusion-y it's supposed to be.
Right.
She made her retro 90s shoes. She told a story about how when she was a little girl, she had to wear boys' shoes because she was a bigger gal. Fine, great. She made a cartoon shoe.
Right.
Everyone else made like a realistic thing,
Yeah.
and she was like, here's the idea of a shoe.
Yeah.
It could have been more realistic, and I
Yeah.
think and maybe size-wise more realistic too, or maybe
Yeah, she
could
made
do
a
two, or that's
gigantic-
more work. But
yeah.
yeah.
That was a Wayne head shoe.
What's a Wayne head shoe?
There used to be a show, animated show, kids show by the Waynes brothers called Wayne Head, and it was a kid with like a metal boot and a big ass head.
Why do I not remember this?
Oh man, the Wayne Head. I'm gonna see if I can get a picture of it to show it to you.
Wow. I feel like you could make a whole game show out of like real Wayne's brother production or made up, and I wouldn't be able to.
Yeah.
Right. The
Wayne Head.
Wayne head. I feel like
Interesting.
seeing the character now. I'm like, sure. I feel like I've seen that on like as a still image, but I could not tell you anything about the actual.
Yeah.
All right, you made a Wayne head shoe.
Wayne Head.
maybe more realistic than we thought.
Yeah.
But yeah, also a little could be maybe more of like like for a kid who loves shoes for their birthday, you know.
You know those
kids
who are crazy about shoes?
Hey?
Yeah.
Don't knock
baby
till you try.
sneakerheads.
Yeah, exactly.
But not a specific sneaker, just a
sneaker.
Yeah, just the platonic.
Like a cartoon character's sneaker.
The idea of sneakers.
Anyway, it was a good cake. Christian made the sweet seams are made of this cake. It was shaped exactly like his sewing machine. Thyme, orange, olive oil flavors. Real bobbins with yarn, properly threaded the way you would thread a sewing machine. That's the level of detail where I was like, this rocks.
Very cool.
I love this.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they said the cake was very firm, bone dry, flavor too sour.
Weird.
It was so weird.
But looked awesome.
Looked amazing.
And you know, Prue was like, that's my sewing
machine. I have the
She
sewing
had,
machine.
Like sentimental.
Yeah.
So she's already grading on a curve. She's already like, I'm endeared to you.
Right.
I want to like this cake.
Yeah.
And it's somehow
And yet-
sour. I'm like, what is
Yikes.
sour
Yeah.
about this?
Yeah.
Thyme isn't sour. I guess orange can be sour.
Yeah.
Was the
Right.
olive oil like turnt? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
Maybe too much orange.
too much orange, maybe?
And she did say, "Oh, I taste the thyme." Like
Yeah,
right away.
yeah.
So maybe.
I'm
a lot
mystified.
of-
Yeah.
I want to try one of Christian's bakes just out of like sheer morbid
Yeah.
curiosity.
Because this is the second sour thing.
Yeah.
Right. And he did kind of say, like, I'm afraid I just don't have the same palate as Paul
Yeah.
Hollywood, which is possible, you know,
Yeah.
just different
And a
palates.
gracious way to take it. Just be like, okay, yeah, you
All
don't
I-
agree with my flavors.
All I did was put 2 cups of malic acid.
I don't know what the
Like,
problem
What
is.
the problem is.
Everyone at home loves it. I don't know. You guys are weird. John, once again, leaning into his own stereotype, made the perfect brunch cake. Flavors of coconut, lime, and tequila. Get it? Because it tastes like margaritas.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's smart.
And we know that Prue loves a boozy cake, so she was all in.
Nice.
But then he made it look like jeans, which I thought was cute.
Really
A pile of
cool.
jeans on sale. Paul pointed out it needed more work on the side, on the fold, the little dark spots, but sure.
Seemed like nitpicky.
Yeah. We're going to let
He loved the
Nelly's...
stitching.
Yeah, exactly. The
Yeah.
stitching. I was going to say he's going to let Nelly's shoe slide, but nitpick on
Sure, yeah,
the
the
shadows
entire
of the
shoe.
jeans. Yeah. But yeah, lovely cake. Really nice. Ilyine made a vase with flowers. The flowers made of fried rice paper.
That
She
looks
demonstrated.
sick.
I was like, that's really cool.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
I did not know you could do that.
Yeah. Just straight up elevating.
Yeah. Peanut butter, dark chocolate, caramel, salted peanuts. Again, Ilyne's got my number with flavors. That's the
Yeah.
one where I'm like, I want that cake. You give me a menu, that's the one I'm
Yeah.
ordering.
Right.
She dedicated this to her mom, and then they showed a picture of her mom. And I was like, usually when they show a picture of someone, it means they're dead.
Yeah.
So I had to do a little bit of research. I dug through her Instagram. Her mom is dead, so I am going to award a half a point to Ilyine for dedicating a bake to a person or an animal who is dead.
Oh, right.
Paul picked out the joints on the vase were like the what's the word I'm looking for? The
Fondant.
fondant.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wasn't great, but well baked. Flavors are amazing. Okay, Hazel. I'm so disappointed. She brought up her handbag cake on the handle, and everyone applauded because it is
So cool.
such a cool party trick. It was amazing. And they said it was disappointing and overbaked.
No, Hazel.
Hazel.
I'm rooting for her so hard, but it's like,
She's trying she's trying things and it's not quite working out.
you want to chalk it up to like first week jitters, you
Yeah.
know, and she'll like get better. But yeah, it was just, it seemed so cool.
Yeah.
I had really high hopes for the handbag cake.
Yeah.
I'm hoping she'll come back next. But also cakes, during the draft, I was like, cakes seem to be her specialty.
Yeah.
She does a lot of cakes, you know?
Yeah. But not these cakes.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, Andy did it's an overnight job. It was a little leather weekender bag. The other one that I was just like, this looks amazing.
Yeah.
It was, the detail.
The
it looked
zipper.
like it was real. Like, is this
The
cake
texture
kind
of
moment?
leather.
Yeah.
The zipper, the leather, different like shades as it's like kind of worn.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Really
it was
cool.
small. Like that was funny that Paul,
Sure.
like he was like, "That's all the sheet cake you're gonna use." But I mean, it was so well. Yeah, it was so like realistic looking. I think it
Yes.
didn't matter,
Yeah.
but it was
Yeah.
kind of small.
Yeah, I think this show in particular, they kind of like give more credit for like effort because he did overbake it slightly.
Yeah.
He was like, he didn't hear his timer go off. He's like, I thought it was my tinnitus, which I think is very
Right.
funny. But even though it was overbaked, they're like, Prue called it an absolute triumph. They're like, it looks amazing, it tastes good, whatever, man. If it's overbaked a little, it's fine.
Yeah.
Was that the one where the filling was pretty good, or like enough to counter, or maybe that was somebody else's?
I feel like that describes like half of them.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, Georgie did Fanny the chicken. Oh, so this is another one where I'm like, it kind of looked like shit, but they were like, but it tasted good.
Yeah. It was a wonky looking guy, but yeah, Fanny the chicken. I mean, she was
300 feathers.
Yeah, that was great. The feathers. If everything else had gone right, I think it would have been great. I think like she was an hour behind, right? So she was really stressed, and it was getting like stressful, and then also like I think like Noel was talking to her while she was like behind trying to make those things. Like, stop talking to her.
Yeah, that's
Let
the
her
most stressful
bake.
thing.
Yeah.
There have been a few contestants in the history of the show who've said like, I can't answer that question. I have to bake right now.
Yeah. I was like, shut it down. Let's move along.
She did have to remake her sponge. That is starting an element over, so she gets a half point there. And I like that on this show your dish can like look like shit, and people still kind of are like, that's fine. Like it didn't really look like a chicken. The challenge was to make it look like a chicken. So on an American show, they would have been like, well, this looks terrible, so you're not going to win.
I know.
But here they're like, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. There's some leniency there, I think.
And then Mike made the My Favorite Cake and Books. And then he said, or if it goes badly, book, which I thought was funny. This was the third one where I was like, this looks so cool.
So cool.
The fact that you could pick it up. He was like, pick them up. They were like individual books you could pick up and open, and there was cake inside.
The way he wrapped the cover around, it was like, ooh,
so
I like
satisfying.
That. Yeah, it looks awesome.
Yeah.
He has not read Allison Hammond's book. I thought that was funny. He dropped equipment on the floor, but not something that you eat. And we clarified during the rules, when you drop something that like you were going to eat, that's when the point comes in. So that's not a point there. Fantastic idea. Executed it well. Then we go to the judging. Noel asks who is in line for Star Baker, so all of these people will get 1 point. That's Sumaya, John, Georgie, and Mike. I was surprised Mike was up there. They even kind of said, they're like, Mike started, he kind of stumbled at first, but he pulled through with the books. The books really saved him.
Yeah. They were great books.
Hazel and Christiane are in trouble, and our Star Baker this week is John. And I'm shocked. I was...
Yeah,
I'm wrong.
I was thinking it would be probably Sumaya, but it was a bit of a surprise, and John's on my team. So
that's on me. I remember not drafting him because I was like, he has no bakes on his Instagram. It's just a bunch of selfies. I guess it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
you can be a good baker in silence and just not show it off to the world.
Yeah, real bakers move in silence like lasagna.
Sure. Yeah. Profound.
Yeah, there's a silent baker in lasagna.
Yeah.
Going home this week is no one because Jeff wasn't here this week. They thought it would be unfair. But there's a possibility that 2 people are going home next week. At this point, 2 people on camera start crying. Mike starts crying. That's a half point. And John starts crying. He says to the camera, these are good tears. They're happy tears. So they both get a half point. Probably other people cried, but that's just who we're going to give the points to. John also, I noted, had very blue fingers from making his jeans. He like lifted his hands. I was like, ah.
Oh, God, what happened? The blue from his eyes is consuming his whole body.
He ate one of those blueberry gobstoppers from Willy Wonka.
Everlasting.
Terrible reference. So old. Okay, let's do our points breakdown. As a reminder, you can find our rules on our Instagram at TV Chef Fantasy League. This week, so in general, we're getting so many points off this show.
Hell yeah.
The points are flowing more so than other shows.
Inflation.
Inflation, exactly. Ilyeen got a handshake. That's 2 points. Both Hazel and Georgie had to start something over again. That's a half point each. The technicals, first place is Georgie. That's a point and a half. Second place is Christiane. That's 1 point. Third place is John. That's a half point. Ilyeen dedicated a bake to her dead mom. That's a half point. The people in line for Star Baker were Sumaya, John, Georgie, and Mike. That's 1 point each. Star Baker was John. That's 2 points. And both Mike and John cried. That is a half point each. So this week, Iffy, you gain 3 points.
All right.
I gain 3.5 points.
Oh.
Sierra, Iffy, guess.
5 points.
More.
6 points.
More.
7 points.
Sierra gains 7 points this week.
Wow.
Your powerhouses were Georgie and John. John really racked
John
it up.
Really
John cried.
through.
He was Star Baker.
John cried.
He got third in technicals.
Yeah, he was strong.
Yeah, Georgie and John really did it for you. I feel like it's just like, here we go again.
I mean,
this is how it shakes out every season.
Yeah. But
you and I are like kind of jostling for second and third. Sierra somehow vaults into first immediately.
Yeah, just by a large margin.
It does seem like there's a lot of potential to get a lot of points here. And when I saw that handshake early on, I was like, oh.
That's true. Yeah. Illeen's strong.
Yeah.
She'll be a big
so I do think
points
there's
horse.
a lot of good.
Yeah, Hazel, not long for this. Hazel, I don't know.
Yeah.
I might be losing Hazel soon.
That's okay. you've got Eileen. So
Yeah.
All right, folks, again, if you like our show, please head to MaximumFun.org/join. That is where you can become a Max Fun member for as little as $5 a month. And that would mean the world to us because we get that money and it allows us to do more cool stuff. Thank you so much.
Yes.
If you have any thoughts or suggestions, drop us a line on Instagram at TV Chef Fantasy League. You can also send us an email, chef@MaximumFun.org. Once again, if you're doing your own Bake Off Fantasy League, tag us there. Let us know. Send us an email. We've already gotten some. Some people have already sent in their leagues and stuff. I think a lot more people are excited for Great British Bake Off than they were for MasterChef.
Yes.
For full unedited episodes, you can check us out on YouTube. Thanks again to my co-hosts here, Kato and Iffy Wadiway. We'll be back again next week. Bye-bye. TV Chef Fantasy League is a Maximum Fun production. Our producer's Valerie Moffat. Our theme song is by Dylan Van Auken. Follow us on Instagram and YouTube at TV Chef Fantasy League.